The sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm orange glow over the small living room in Calabar. Rita sat on the couch, her legs tucked beneath her as she scrolled through her phone, pretending not to notice Caleb pacing around the room with a secretive grin on his face. "All right, spill it. What are you up to?" she asked, lowering her phone and narrowing her eyes at him. Caleb stopped pacing, his hands tucked behind his back. "Patience, my queen. You'll see," he said with a teasing smirk. Rita rolled her eyes. "Caleb, I told you I didn't want anything big for my birthday, just a quiet day with you. And you got that," Caleb replied with a chuckle. "But I also wanted to give you this." He pulled a large, neatly wrapped package from behind the couch and placed it on the table in front of her. Rita's jaw dropped, her heart skipping a beat. "What's this?" she asked, already feeling overwhelmed. "Open it," Caleb said, his grin widening as he sat next to her, his knee brushing against hers. Her fingers trembled as she tore through the wrapping paper, revealing a gleaming new laptop, a professional microphone, and a sleek smartphone. She gasped, her eyes darting between him and the gifts. "Caleb," she whispered, her voice breaking. You really didn't have to do this." "Yes, I did," Caleb said softly, his brown eyes locking with hers. "You've been talking about your YouTube channel for months, Rita. You're always saying your videos are blurry, that you don't have the right tools. Well, now you do. No more excuses." Rita's chest swelled with gratitude and she couldn't hold back anymore. She threw her arms around him, hugging him tightly as tears stung her eyes. "Thank you so much, Caleb," she said, her voice muffled against his chest. "You deserve it," he murmured, resting his chin on her shoulder. They stayed like that for a moment, the world around them fading into silence. But as the hug lingered, something shifted. Rita became acutely aware of the heat radiating from his body, of the way his arms held her just a little tighter than usual. Her heart raced as she pulled back slightly, her face just inches from his. "Caleb," she said softly, her eyes searching his. His gaze dropped to her lips, then back up to her eyes. His voice was low and thick with emotion when he spoke. "What?" Rita hesitated for a moment, then smiled shyly. "You're staring? And you're beautiful," he replied without missing a beat. Her cheeks flushed and she looked away, suddenly feeling nervous. She stood abruptly, brushing her hands against her jeans. I'll get us some juice," she stammered, heading for the kitchen. In the kitchen, Rita leaned against the counter, trying to calm her racing heart. She poured herself a glass of juice, her mind spiraling. Caleb had always been the perfect gentleman, too perfect sometimes. She couldn't deny that she wanted more intimacy, more passion. But he always held back, his principles keeping him at arm's length. "Rita," Caleb's voice startled her. She turned to see him standing in the doorway, his hands in his pockets, his eyes unreadable. "You're nervous," he said, walking toward her. "No, I'm not," she lied, her voice shaky. He chuckled softly, closing the distance between them. "You're a terrible liar." She looked away, fiddling with the edge of her glass. I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for me, Caleb. You're always so good to me." "You don't have to thank me," he said, his voice low and steady. "I just want to see you happy." She looked up at him, her heart pounding in her chest. "I'm happy. You make me happy." For a moment, they stood there in silence, the air between them crackling with tension. Caleb reached out, gently tucking a stray curl behind her ear. "Do you know how hard it is for me to be around you sometimes?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Rita's breath hitched. "What do you mean?" "I mean," he hesitated, his fingers brushing against her cheek. "You drive me crazy, Rita. You're all I think about. But I keep holding back because I don't want to ruin what we have. I don't want to hurt you." "You're not hurting me," she said, her voice trembling. "You're hurting yourself. And me. Caleb, I want you. I've always wanted you." He closed his eyes, his jaw tightening as if he was fighting an internal battle. When he opened them again, his gaze was filled with a hunger she had never seen before. "Rita? Please," she whispered, stepping closer to him. "Just kiss me. I need to know what it feels like. I need to know what we feel like." Caleb hesitated for a moment, then leaned in, his lips brushing softly against hers. The kiss was slow and tentative at first, like they were testing the waters. But as Rita slid her arms around his neck, pulling him closer, Caleb's resolve shattered. He deepened the kiss, his hands finding her waist and pulling her flush against him. Her fingers tangled in his hair as their breaths mingled, the world around them fading into nothing. Caleb lifted her onto the kitchen counter, his lips never leaving hers. She wrapped her legs around his waist instinctively, her body pressing against his as his hands roamed her back, sending shivers down her spine. "This feels so right," Rita murmured against his lips. Thank you for watching. Please like, share and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for the next episodes.